Another 3 points on the board for Liverpool, for Manchester City and for Arsenal. Another game week down where none of the title race teams have blinked. And look, as long as this goes on, the more we keep seeing them pick up all 3 points, the more historical this title race will become. It's as simple as that. To be at this stage of the season with just 8 games to go, 3 points separating the top 3, it's remarkable, it's exciting. And I'm all here for it. If you're new to the channel, look, please do subscribe. We're on our way to 10,000 subscribers. And if you could smash a like on the video as well, it really does help me. It helps push the video out to more people as we continue to grow this fantastic Rory Talks Football community. So let's get into the games. Now, this game week, and I'm talking about the midweek games specifically, was an objectively harder week for Manchester City than it was for Arsenal and Liverpool. Arsenal and Liverpool had 2 of the easiest games, respectfully, to Sheffield United and Luton. 2 of the easiest games that you could ask for. To play those teams at home, it was lucky. Not lucky. Everyone plays the same games, but it was nice. It was nice for them. And you looked at it and you went, well, Villa could cause an upset at Man City. They beat them earlier in the season. They look like they've kind of found their form again. This could be one. But it wasn't. It wasn't. And it emphatically wasn't, actually. Man City dealt with it really well. Look, Aston Villa have got injuries and they set up with quite a weak team. They rested some players as well, which is, look, for Arsenal and Liverpool fans, it's very frustrating. But Unai Emery's job is to pick up the most amount of points that he can. And if he believes that resting those players for this game in order to have them fresher for a game that he believes that they'll win, then so be it. So be it. But it will undoubtedly be frustrating if you see him line up full strength against Arsenal or against Liverpool if you're an Arsenal or Liverpool fan. But in terms of what we can sort of learn from this game week about each team, there are a few things that I think you can pick up on. Some things that you might have already thought, but this has confirmed it, and some new things. I'll also go on to talk about what we can expect this weekend, where there's another round of tough fixtures across the board. All 3 teams are away this weekend, so it is going to get interesting. But look, we'll bring these up. So we'll start with City, because I do think this was the game that could have gone another way. If you're an Arsenal fan or Liverpool fan, it was when you were looking at you going, oh, maybe. But in the end, a masterclass from Phil Foden and Rodri in particular. Both of them were absolutely fantastic. And they dispatched of Aston Villa quite comfortably. And actually, again, perhaps somewhat surprisingly, it was Man City that gained in the goal difference race this week, only by a goal. Obviously, they had a +3 goal difference. Arsenal and Liverpool had +2, but minor things, and it really could come down to goal difference. Let's be real. It could come down to goal difference. In terms of what you've learned about City here, look, maybe this is the moment. Maybe this is the moment where they've clicked into gear. I know some City fans off the back of this result have kind of perked up a bit after the draw at the weekend and thought, here we go. Now, they've had a couple of moments like that already this season. I remember they beat, I think when they beat Luton in the Cup, when they put 6 past them, at that point they were like, here we go. And it was a bit of a false start. But maybe this is the time. I do still think, though, they're frail at the back. It wasn't a particularly good Aston Villa team. In fact, we can scroll down to the lineups here. Obviously, it wasn't the best City team either. That's the City team. There we go. The Villa team. Olsen in goal, Carlos, Konza, Digne, and Longley. Pau Torres is by far their best defender. The midfield, Zaniolo, he's god-awful. Morgan Rogers and Tim Irognum. Sorry, I've butchered that. That was horrible. I apologize. Tim. I don't know much about them, and John Duran up front. It was weakened. It was massively weakened, and especially then they took Douglas Luiz off Callum Chambers. It was a bit horrible, but City got the job done. And like I said, actually, City, and this is another interesting thing, and maybe it's something that we'll see going forwards. No Haaland, no Kevin De Bruyne, and on this very channel, I believe we questioned whether or not they were becoming an issue, whether or not actually switching things up a bit, taking out Haaland, taking out De Bruyne, putting Phil Foden centrally was a better option. And I tell you what, if that was the opportunity for Phil Foden to say to Pep Guardiola, look, times have changed. I'm better now. I am better than Kevin De Bruyne through the middle now. That was the game. That was the game to do it. Now, who knows, going into the weekend, will De Bruyne come back in? Will Erling Haaland come back in? I mean, it's an astonishing bench. John Stones on there. Presumably, he's close to being back to fully fit. the likes of Oscar Bob, quality players. But this could be a changing point for them. This could be the point where Pep Guardiola sticks with this team because of how well it played. And I know there are some City fans that want that. There are some City fans that don't want Ederson to come back in for Ortega either. So it's interesting, but it was a big game for them, and they got the job done. And then obviously Arsenal did. I've already made a video about Arsenal beating Luton. What did we learn from that? We learned that Arsenal are a bit different this season to last season. That we're more composed, that we're not as erratic. At this point last season, we were reaching the point of Southampton away, Southampton 3-all, West Ham 2-all. We look a lot more composed, a lot more relaxed. And we also learned that Arsenal can rotate and not lose games. So that was an important win for Arsenal. And then obviously Liverpool last night, 3-1. And this was one where, of all three teams, Liverpool looked most likely to drop points last night. They were drawing 1-1 with 14 minutes to go. And then obviously, once again, Alexis McAllister has stepped up with just a wonder strike, an absolute wonder strike. And they're the moments, so many moments. Maybe that's, not quite the same because it's not a 90th minute winner, but that's your Reece Nelson moment where someone just steps up and hits it and it works out. They probably deserve to win on the balance of play. They dominated a lot of the game, but again, they looked a little bit vulnerable. They looked a little bit unsure going forwards. And it's another example of a game where you could go, Liverpool aren't sustainable. You can't, this is not sustainable. Sheffield United at home is arguably the easiest game in the Premier League, and they didn't make it easy. But how long can we keep sitting here saying it's unsustainable before we go, well, we're 30 games into the season and there's only 8 games left? So far, it is sustainable, and they keep doing it. They're also having, players coming back to fitness now. Their lineup last night looked a bit better. Still waiting on Alisson, of course. Still waiting on Trent Alexander-Arnold, Conor Bradley. At times he does still look a bit young because he is. Joe Gomez at left back at some point. To be fair, he's done a very good job. Again, in the midfield, I thought Curtis Jones, when he came on, looked much better, especially much better than Gravenberch. And it's probably their best front three as well. So they are coming back to full fitness just at the right time. And obviously, looking forward beyond this week or beyond this weekend into next midweek, Arsenal have got Bayern Munich, Man City have got Real Madrid. Liverpool don't have that level of a fixture. And so that's good for them. So a big win for them. But again, just showing that chances will be there. The odds of all three teams just relentlessly winning game after game after game. There are going to be these games. And at some point, and I'm not saying it'll be Liverpool, at some point, this game happens and you don't find the equaliser. You drop points. We've already seen it. All of the teams have dropped points so far this season. So what's coming up? Well, this weekend, I think, is much more difficult for all three teams. You've got the lunchtime kickoff tomorrow. City away at Palace. Now, on paper, Palace at the moment is a relatively easy game. They look really poor against Bournemouth. But it's just one of those games where you go away to Palace. It's never nice. It's never comfortable. The early kickoff, is known for throwing up surprises. Of course, you'd expect Man City to go there and win, but you never know. And City have found Palace to be tricky in recent times. And remember last season, it took an Erling Haaland 78th minute winner to win that game 1-0 in a game where they didn't create much. So potentially room for a slip up there. And then the evening kickoff, Arsenal away at Brighton. Again, on paper, you'd think Arsenal at full strength. Brighton not been at their best this season. It should be an Arsenal win. But Brighton is a team that Arsenal have struggled against over recent seasons. Brighton away, it's a tough gig. Brighton had a harder midweek game. They travelled to London. So Arsenal should be the fresher team, having rested players as well. But again, it's a banana skin. It's a game where as much as Arsenal should win, they might not win. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Now, the good thing, in my opinion, once again, is that City and Arsenal play first. I think in the run-in, playing first is an advantage. You get your 3 points on the board. You put yourselves out in front. The other team is playing catch-up. You don't want to be the last team playing on the weekend, in my opinion. And this weekend, that duty falls on Liverpool, as it did in the midweek. And they go away to Manchester United. Now, again, on paper, the way United played last night, Liverpool should crucify them. Liverpool should absolutely crucify them. The way that Chelsea were able to cut through Man United, the talent that Liverpool have, they should be able to do the same thing. But Old Trafford is Old Trafford, and it can throw up things. Again, United have got riddled with defensive injuries again now. You know, they ended the game yesterday with Kambwala alongside Harry Maguire because Varane got injured and then Johnny Evans got injured. Well, unless either of them make a remarkable recovery, you know, you're looking at Maguire and Kambwala at the weekend, which is not ideal. It's not ideal. As an Arsenal fan, as a City fan, it's not ideal, and Liverpool are hitting Man United at a good time, you would imagine. Again, you know, United have just had a more difficult midweek game as well, traveling down to London, playing away against Chelsea. That was an intense game. So, you'd expect Liverpool to win it. It's Manchester United against Liverpool, according to Football Twitter. But we'll see what happens. Either way, let me know in the comments. Do you see a team dropping points this weekend? Arsenal, City, Liverpool. Do you see one of us, any of us, dropping points this weekend? Because this is how it looks now. 3 points separating them. Arsenal, 6 goals clear of Liverpool, 10 clear of Man City. How is it going to change this weekend? Or do we go into the following weekend with the same, but 3 points more for each team? I don't know. It's going to be exciting. I'll be live on TIFO. Link is in my bio. Sorry, not in my bio. In the description of this video. I'll be live for a watch-along of Arsenal versus Brighton for that. I'll be live again at 6:30 this evening for the full Brighton preview if you're an Arsenal fan and want to join that. But until then, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope we have a fantastic weekend of football. Please do subscribe if you're new. Smash a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you when I catch you. Goodbye.